You know that old saying, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
Hmm.
Well, what if, and this is what our source material suggests, what if a similar kind of trick has been played with mind control?
How so?
Like, what if we've all been sort of convinced it's impossible, or just, science fiction, maybe debunked?
So we don't even look for it.
Exactly, so we don't look.
It's a really provocative idea to start with.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much where our deep dive begins today.
Right.
Our mission here, basically, is to take this stack of sources we've got. There's an audio clip, some dictionary definitions, even a Forbes article,
Yeah.
and really unpack the intriguing and sometimes unsettling claims they make.
Claims about how language, maybe media, might be intentionally messing with our minds.
That's the core of it, yeah. According to these specific sources, anyway, we're here to help you distill their main points.
Consider this your shortcut, then. A way to get informed on a topic that honestly often feels a bit out there, like spy novel stuff. And just to be clear, we're exploring the claims within these sources. We're not, saying they're definitely true or false.
No, it's about pulling out those aha moments, the things that make you think twice about how you process information every day.
Okay, let's start digging in then.
Great.
So this source material, it kicks off really bold, doesn't it? It asserts that the whole idea of mind control...
Hypnosis, NLP, subliminal stuff.
Yeah, all of that. It's been widely dismissed. Like, the general feeling out there is, oh, that's impossible.
Or debunk pseudoscience.
Yeah.
Fantasy.
Right, you hear, it's just not real. And when the source talks about NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, it's talking about those ideas around how language affects our thoughts, our behavior.
And a really key point the materials make is that this dismissal, this widespread belief that it's not real, it might not be accidental.
Oh.
The source argues it's actually quite intentional. The idea is, if you believe mind control is impossible, then it makes it much easier for people who do understand how the brain works to, well, the source says, use that information against you.
Wow.
It really pushes us to ask that fundamental question the source raises. What is real? How do you define real? Maybe our understanding of reality itself is part of this whole thing.
Okay, so if mind control was supposedly dismissed, pushed aside, how does that square with the sudden explosion of trigger words?
Exactly.
Our source points out, this wasn't really a common phrase in public discussion until quite recently.
Right. And now
Now it's everywhere. The source mentions, like, my 8-year-old is using this phrase now, just from hearing it online. It's unavoidable.
And it's fascinating when the source actually dives into the word trigger itself. There's been a real shift.
Like how?
Well, if you look at Google's definition, which the source did, you see trigger, the noun, the part of a gun, a mechanism.
Standard definition.
It's standard. But then the verb form, Google says it means to cause an event or situation to happen, precipitate, provoke, or, and the source highlights this, activate.
Activate something. Okay.
And the longest definition Google gave, the source found this particularly telling.
What did that one say?
It's, especially if something read, seen, or heard distress someone, typically as a result of arousing feelings or memories associated with a particular traumatic experience.
Okay, that sounds familiar.
But the key part, according to the source, is the example Google used. She started crying and told me that my news had really triggered her.
News. Specifically news.
Specifically, news used as the example of how to trigger someone. And then the source pulls out a 1941 dictionary for contract, in that older dictionary.
Yeah.
Trigger is apparently listed only as a noun, no verb form at all.
Really? None.
None reported by the source. Which leads the source to ask this provocative question. Is it just a coincidence that this word trigger started being used as a verb, meaning to initiate or provoke something, right around the same time as all those big Cold War-era mind control research programs were supposedly happening?
Like MK Ultra.
Exactly. The source mentions MK Ultra, that controversial CIA program looking into mind control techniques, but stresses that was likely just one small piece for potentially much larger global efforts.
That timing is interesting, you have to admit. So, building on that, do the sources give concrete examples of how this influence might actually work?
They do offer a couple of specific anecdotes or observations.
Wow.
One is this reference to an Al Roker clip.
Al Roker, the weatherman.
Yeah. In the anecdote, a woman says the phrase Holy Ghost, and the source describes Roker's reaction as shutting down like a robot or a Manchurian candidate.
A Manchurian candidate,
Uh,
like programmed.
That's the term the source uses, yeah. Someone brainwashed to act unconsciously. The source asks pretty bluntly, tell me that's not programming. What the hell is that? Suggesting it looked like a programmed response.
Okay, that's memorable. And then there's the whole switch to digital TV after 2008, 2009.
Right, the source brings that up too. It claims that after the digital switchover, major news channels started using these fast-spinning globes and circular graphics.
I think I know the ones you mean, sometimes counting down.
Often counting down the audience, yeah. And the source's interpretation of this is quite specific.
What do they think it is?
They posit it's a combination. The flicker rate in the digital screen plus these intricate spinning graphics. The claim is it's designed to count people down into a hypnotic trance.
For mass hypnosis. Through the news.
That's the assertion in the source material, that it became a sort of new standard for delivering information, potentially with this hypnotic element built in.
Wow. Okay. It makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It definitely does. If these claims hold any water, how much unconscious influence are we exposed to?
And what's really interesting is how the source then points to, like, mainstream validation. It mentions a Forbes article.
Ah, yes, the one titled something like, Research shows hypnosis has interesting effects on the brain.
Exactly. Mainstream Forbes finally admitting, hey, hypnosis actually does work.
Which brings up a crucial question the source raises. Why now? Why is it being validated now?
What's the source's take?
The connection the source makes is that this mainstream okay only happened after hypnosis techniques had been, quote, perfected.
Perfected.
That's the claim. And it cites a study, Mendelsohn et al., which looked at post-hypnotic amnesia.
Okay.
In that study, people were told to forget something until they heard a specific recall trigger word. Then they'd remember.
A trigger word. There it is again.
Exactly. The source hammers this point. Historically, trigger words were apparently linked to hypnosis, brainwashing, those Manchurian candidate ideas.
Yeah.
And now, the source claims, these concepts are being pushed onto everybody, integrated into everyday language.
So we've gone from, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me,
Right, the old childhood rhyme.
to basically the complete opposite. Our source says they, whoever they are, now want you believing that words are maybe the most harmful things.
Words are some of the most horrible things in the world that can hurt you the most. That's how the source puts it. The whole words matter idea, but amplified.
And how does the source see this playing out?
It talks about an inundation with this concept of verbal triggers, pushing for things like zero tolerance zones for words deemed offensive.
Okay.
And the source interprets the aim of this as turning people into programmed biological androids,
Yeet.
meaning people who react instantly to stimuli, to words, with just emotional outbursts, no logic, no critical thought, just an immediate engineered reaction.
And the prime example the source uses is college campuses, right? With trigger warnings presented as essential.
Yes. The source describes this leading to certain groups focusing so much on emotional safety that it potentially stifles free speech, because someone else's words might hurt feelings.
Which leads to that tricky question.
The source poses it directly. Who gets to decide what's offensive? If anyone can just say, I am hurt by a word or idea.
Does everyone else just have to stop talking?
Exactly. Where does that lead? The source questions the sustainability and the implications of that for open discourse.
It really makes you think of that line from The Matrix, when Morpheus says they want to turn a human being into this, like a battery.
Or the source uses the other analogy too, turning people into that reacting Al Roker from the clip.
Yeah, or like programming a bull to charge at a red cape that isn't even really there just because it's been conditioned.
And this all builds towards the source's kind of ultimate question.
Which is?
If people are being engineered, maybe through media, maybe through language shifts, to have this instant hair trigger emotional response, a response that bypasses critical thinking, maybe even overrides questioning what's right in front of them, the source asks, then how is that not mind control? It frames it as a deliberate reshaping of how we perceive and react.
Wow, what a fascinating journey through this material today.
It really is.
We've definitely unpacked some pretty compelling and maybe unsettling claims from these sources.
Yeah, from that idea of dismissing mind control to make it easier to use.
To the whole weird evolution of trigger words.
The alleged media techniques like spinning globes for hypnosis.
And redefining words matter into a potential tool for psychological control. It's a lot.
Is a lot to consider. And it loops back to that definition of reality the source mentioned, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, if real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain, as the source puts it.
Okay.
And the final thought is, if these sources are suggesting words and images might be intentionally engineering those signals, trying to bypass your critical thought. What does that really mean for how you perceive things, how you react every single day?
That is definitely a powerful thought to leave things on. We really hope this deep dive has sparked some curiosity for you. As always, we encourage you to stay critical, examine the information you encounter, keep that spirit of exploration going. Absolutely. Until next time.